Hey guys, welcome to episode number 73 of Diehlman at Halftime, the NBA podcast that tops all others. I'm your host, Larry Diehlman, joined by my co host, Chris DiPietro. If you're joining us for the first time, it's great to have you. And if you've been a regular listener, welcome back. We have a lot to cover today and not a lot of time to do it. We'll look at a general overview of the NBA this week and then discuss some important topics across the association. So let's get into our content for the week. The FBI announced that 30 people have been charged in two separate but related criminal investigations. Three people of note were arrested. Miami Heat guard Terry Rozier, former Cleveland Cavaliers player and assistant coach Damon Jones, and current Portland Trailblazers head coach Chauncey Billups. Tiago Splitter is now Portland's interim head coach, by the way. Rozier and Jones were allegedly involved in sports betting conspiracies. Allegedly is the key word here. So Terry Rozier supposedly faked an injury and exited a Hornets Pelicans game back when he was on the Hornets. Jones allegedly sold insider info to bettors and had a close relationship to a, quote, prominent NBA player. The description matches LeBron James, but LeBron has really not been accused of anything. Chauncey Billups. Now, this is where it gets weird. Chauncey was allegedly involved in rigging illegal poker games tied to the mafia. Billups was a face card. Basically, they brought these players in to attract unwitting players known as fish to play rigged games with a modified shuffling machine, poker chip trays with hidden cameras, an x-ray table that can read cards face down, special glasses that could read pre-marked cards. Terry Rozier and Chauncey Billups are scheduled to appear in Eastern District Court in Brooklyn on November 24th and December 8th, respectively. Chris, what the hell?
Yeah, this is just absolutely ridiculous. First off, I think we have to acknowledge that this is a horrible look for the league. And obviously not just the coaches, the former coaches and the players potentially involved here, but the league itself, because they ran plenty of investigations on Rozier and many of these other players and coaches that have been accused of either tanking games or swishing around insider information about injury designations. And it seemed like everyone's gotten out clean when the NBA looks at them. But as we know, on October 23rd, your co-host's birthday, the FBI, they made 30 plus arrests, and it was just a giant nuclear bomb that morning, that Thursday morning. Obviously, Billups, Rozier, Damon Jones, and even probably the face of investigative sports journalism right now, Pablo Torre, a journalist, a TV host, a podcaster, a media entrepreneur. He's been having a really hot year in terms of getting the scoop on a wide variety of different things, from Bill Belichick to this absolute bombshell FBI series of arrests. And he's making claims that there are a lot more people involved than even we know about. Kevin Garnett, he said, was involved in these poker games. Ex-NFL superstar tight end Antonio Gates, also involved with these poker games, allegedly inviting current players to play at these games. It's just absolutely ridiculous. Just completely out of left field right as the season's starting. I just have to point out, I've been seeing so many compilations of Terry Rozier coming out, after his arrest and even during the initial allegations, I want to say months ago, clips of him just being absolutely careless with the ball, throwing up horrible shots, driving to the paint, hopping up in the air, doing a 180 and chucking the ball at a grandma in the second row. Looking back on those compilations of clips, knowing what we know now, it's honestly just flooring. And as has this whole case has been, it's been flooring. It's been so wild, and it seems like it might even get more wild. That seems like the direction we're headed in right now.
Well, first of all, happy belated birthday.
Oh, thank you, thank you.
Chris and I were out yesterday with the fam to celebrate. But
We had a great
anyway,
time.
yeah. Oh, of course we did. But anyway, this whole thing just, as you said, out of left field, just no one saw it coming. Terry Rozier was investigated a little while ago, like a couple months ago. Nothing really ever came out of it. But then we heard FBI Director Kash Patel just say that, we're coming for you and there's no escape and pretty much it's the end of the line. This all stems from the fact that Jonte Porter of the Toronto Raptors was banned for life in April of 2024 for basically telling bettors to wager on his under bets, and then he removed himself from the game. So Terry Rozier kind of did the same thing. Terry, as Chris mentioned, was just chucking up random shots and playing silly out there to get his bets to hit. Jonte Porter was basically faking injuries, as Terry Rozier allegedly was. Chauncey Billups with organized crime. I don't even know how one gets involved with it. I know you don't mess with the mafia, so if he somehow got roped into that, I mean, maybe he was protecting his loved ones, and you never know, or if he was just caught up with that, the mafia families. I don't know, but Chauncey's Hall of Fame status and his career is in some serious jeopardy if these accusations are true. Chauncey Billups is in the Hall of Fame. He's the current Portland Trailblazers head coach, but I mean, I don't even know how you resolve this if they're true. And Malik Beasley, who was a star for the Pistons last year, is still unsigned because of his own prop bet investigation. Sports betting has strangled the league and sports in general because the NFL, you had Calvin Ridley was suspended a few years ago for a whole season because of some bets he made while he was with the Falcons. And now we have this with the NBA. And there's always in baseball, oh, well, Pete Rose this, Pete Rose that while he was still alive. But sports betting has just taken on like everything you see all these, like even in pregame and postgame shows, they'll be like
Hmm.
they'll tell the analysts or whatever, hey, what are you thinking? Are you thinking John Smith is averaging 20 points tonight or what?
It's
It's like
horrible.
it's everywhere. And people like Al Michaels will say, well, that means something to some people. It's just everywhere, and it ruins the integrity of the game. And fans, it's one thing, but when players and coaches start doing it, it just really looks bad.
Mhm. And just real quickly before we move on, I want to say I think many people's knee-jerk reaction to this was kind of, oh man, these guys are making millions of dollars. Why would they get involved over this really blatantly stupid actions just over maybe a couple hundred grand when they're already making millions? I just think that this whole bombshell has served to show us how human these guys are. And
Right.
it's easy to think that these players we look up to and follow constantly, and coaches as well. It's easy to lose track of that they're human and they make mistakes, and that is not at all to excuse what they did, but they have vices just like we have vices, and it was just a all around on all accounts just an absolutely wild drop on that Thursday morning.
And I don't think this investigation is anywhere close to being
Not
over.
even close.
So we'll see what Chauncey Billups, Terry Rozier, Damon Jones, we'll see what their fates are as they make their court appearances and how it'll shape up as we go to 2026. This episode is entitled Bet on It. So, who's raising eyebrows at the moment? So, as we mentioned in the first episode of the season, and as I pointed out, that our usual highlight, low light, and random stat will be officially retired this season, but Game of the Week is staying. We are switching to more informal discussions instead of just regular sections that we've seen every week. So, we're going to start with our first topic, Victor Wembanyama. This man is something else. Chris, Victor Wembanyama was your MVP pick as of last week, and I don't think that is changing anytime soon.
No, sir. No, no, sir. Not at all. I'm feeling great about that, and I'll quote a quite hilarious tweet I saw. Shout out to at FuddyWop on Twitter, James. He tweeted out, "Someone could wake up today and say the NBA is in serious trouble, and you wouldn't know if they were talking about Wembanyama's 40 piece or the FBI arresting players and coaches for gambling violations. And honestly, Wembanyama has been taking the NBA by storm, maybe just as much as this bombshell case we just discussed. He has been absolutely unreal. He looked like he has taken a serious leap from years one and two. As we all know, I mean, he's one of the tallest players of all time, with people alleging he even grew over the offseason to potentially 7'7". That would tie him for the tallest of all time. And he is averaging 33 points a game, 13 rebounds, nearly 2 steals, 6 blocks on nearly 64% true shooting, and he is not turning the ball over. He became the first player this century with 100 points and 18 blocks in a 3 game span. And believe me, you don't just have to be looking at the box scores to see how unreal he's been. It's even been more unreal with the eyes. I mean, me and Larry were just talking at dinner last night about in their most recent game, he was sitting in the lane just stalking a player posting up on the nets. And he was just sitting there stalking. He was like a lion, just like up on a hilltop, like looking over a jaguar, his dinner. And he waits, I think it was Noah Clowney to take a little turnaround baby hook. He dribbles it off of the backboard. The Nets get the offensive rebound. He turns right around, sends that shot right into the corner. The Spurs end up with the ball, and they defer to Wemby, the guy who was just hawking the paint and got 2 straight blocks. They defer to Wembanyama to take the ball up. He pulls up from damn near 30 feet and drains it. I mean, this is unlike anything we've ever seen. There is no Wembanyama player comp. And call this bold, but I don't know how this is not a reasonable take at this time. We might be discussing Victor Wembanyama as not only the greatest basketball player of all time someday, but maybe the greatest athlete of all time someday. It is absolutely unreal, never before seen, seeing what he's doing at his height, sizing up people like Kevin Durant, swatting shots off the backboard better than Mutombo, better than Elijah Wan ever did. This is, he's an alien. That's the only way to say it. And it is no exaggeration.
Yeah, Victor Wembanyama has just been on another level. And as Chris said, with all the stats 33, 13, 2 assists, 2 steals, 6 blocks. First player with 100 points and 15 blocks in 3 games. 6 blocks. I mean, if you average like, I don't know, 1.5 blocks or something, you're pretty
That's good.
average. You're pretty good, pretty average.
A good rim
Like
defender right there.
yeah, you're a good rim defender. Like 2 to 2.5, you're like, okay, you're pretty good.
It's top of the league.
6 blocks in three. It's not like he played one game and it's like, oh well, he played one game, so what? 6 blocks in 3 games for an average. I mean, come on. This is something that, you don't see Hakeem Olajuwon do or Mark Eaton or anything. This is 6 blocks a game, and this man is 21 years old. Like as Chris said, he's a great athlete and he just might be one of the best athletes that we've ever seen. I don't know how to classify this man. It's like
You can't.
It's like Shohei Ohtani in baseball. He's the best hitter and pitcher in the MLB, and you see what he's doing with the Dodgers.
Mhm.
So Victor Wembanyama, he's basically a unicorn in the NBA, which makes it that much harder to guard him or just do anything against. So the Spurs at this moment are 3-0 on the new season. Tonight on Monday, they will be hosting the Toronto Raptors for their next game, and then
Good luck,
after
Jakob Pertl.
yeah. After that, they will host the Miami Heat on Thursday. So honestly, I could see a couple more wins. I'm not saying they're going 82-0 because they're not, but I think the Spurs are going to see plenty of great moments as we get the season underway.
Absolutely. All right. So this NBA season in its infancy, we're roughly a week in at this point, and I was just thinking the other day about, which players have really altered my expectations from a week ago so far through 2, 3 games, which most teams have played up to this point. Who am I watching this season who I think just a week ago my expectations were in a wildly different place for either better or worse? So I got Larry to think about a similar thing, and we've both compiled our draft boards, and we are going to go back and forth drafting our early player returns, the players who we're looking at a week into this young season and saying, wow, their stock is rising exponentially or maybe even declining exponentially. Players who we have really changed our expectations for. I will lead off here with the first pick in our early player returns draft. I really wanted to go into left field like that FBI bombshell earlier, but I literally can't when we just talked about the guy we just talked about, Victor Wembanyama. Obviously, Wembanyama had some of the highest expectations for a player coming into the draft in a long time, maybe ever. And obviously, we were expecting him to take a potentially superstar leap at some point. But this has been jarring. It has been jarring. It has not been, man, Wembanyama, he might be playing himself into that all NBA conversation. No, it has been absolutely jarring what Wembanyama has been doing. We watched it in their first game against Dallas. When you put on that game, I'm so glad that it was nationally televised. And for everyone around the world watching that game, this was not a Wembanyama step forward. We were watching a god play basketball that night. It was it was almost haunting. It was haunting. It was like Thanos had just landed in front of the Avengers, the Anthony Davises, the Cooper Flags, who we think so highly of. He completely wrecked that game, and he's been wrecking them ever since. This has been by far the best player in the league to this point. All respect to Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, but we cannot emphasize enough how different Wembanyama has looked. This is not an all-star leap. This is not even an all-NBA leap. We might be watching the birth of the greatest basketball player of all time because there is nothing you can do to stop him, it looks like so far. And the Spurs, man, what's stopping them from being the one seed with a guy like him?
I definitely agree. Victor Wembanyama in our early player returns draft going unanimously number one. So I have the second pick in the draft, and the second pick can always be, as equally good as the first pick, sometimes better, sometimes worse. So Chris picked a good example. Now I will go with a bad example, and I am taking Paolo Banchero of the Orlando Magic. And pretty much what is making this pick for me is the shooting percentage that Mr. Bancaro has had the last couple games. And I know it's early in the season, but it's not like it's one game, it's 3 games. So maybe he's just warming up. Paolo is shooting 34% from the field and 16.7% from downtown. You obviously don't want to see that for a guy
Yikes.
who is for a guy who's leading your team. He is the franchise player for the Orlando Magic, no questions asked. Despite the fact that Franz Wagner is a great player as well, it is Paolo's to lose in terms of being the leader of that team and those not so good shooting percentages. It's just not going to get it done, especially in an Eastern Conference where this is up for grabs. Like this isn't like the Celtics are running away this year or the Pacers are doing some devil magic this year. There's nobody in the East that is a clear-cut favorite. The Knicks, they have talent. The Sixers, they have talent. But no one is like, yup, that's the team that everyone's, crapping their pants about. Paolo Banchero, just right now, shooting percentages are a little off. Obviously, they faced some teams like the Heat and the Hawks so far, and we'll see if his shooting percentages can get back to normal or maybe even above average as we get into November. And I also have the third pick in our player returns draft, somebody who has just he's had that dog in him the last couple of games, and I hope I'm not stealing it, Mr. DiPietro. I'm going with VJ Edgecombe of the Philadelphia
Man, I would have
76ers.
killed to talk about him, but you have the honor, my host.
Oh, of course. Thank you, my lord. VJ Edgecombe of the Philadelphia 76ers. He dropped 34 points in his NBA debut on the road in Boston, which is never the easiest place to play. That is the most all time in Sixers history and the third all time in NBA history for an NBA debut behind Wilt Chamberlain and Frank Selvey. And I've always said this as part of the podcast throughout the last couple seasons. Whenever you are compared to Wilt Chamberlain, whether it's a stat or a record or whatnot, whenever you hear Wilt Chamberlain, you are doing something correct. I don't care about the conspiracy theorists who say Wilt was a myth. The 100 points never happened. He was playing against off duty firemen. I don't care. When you're compared to Wilt Chamberlain, you're doing something right. But anyway, VJ Edgecombe has looked great in his first couple games. Obviously, Joel Embiid, maybe not the player that he has been so far this season. VJ Edgecombe and Tyrese Maxey have been holding down the fort for the Sixers while Paul George is resting up, getting ready to go. VJ Edgecombe, pick number three.
All right. Pick number four, coming back to the co-host Chris Dippy in our early player returns draft. Man, Larry, I'm feeling really positive today.
Wait. You need the theme song. You need bum 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 bum. There you go.
With the fourth pick in the 2025 dealing at halftime inaugural early player returns draft. I'm feeling positive today. I'm going with Chet Holmgren. Chet Holmgren, another big guy, the guy picked right behind Wembanyama, who I had picked earlier, who is currently toying with the National Basketball Association. Chet Holmgren obviously had much lower expectations, but obviously still very high, very highly recruited player out of high school. Just a definite stud through the college and high school recruiting process. And he's looked good to start his NBA career, absolutely. I think he's played at a borderline all-star levels up to this point in his career. But it's looking like we're watching a leap from Chet Holmgren right now. He is really taking the reins of that number two spot in Oklahoma City. And obviously Jalen Williams is still there. Obviously he's been hurt to start the year. But Chet Holmgren looks like a different player than in year two and year one. There were even moments during their championship run where we questioned whether Chet Holmgren was going to be a liability on the court. And I can't see that happening with how he's been playing this year. He's been playing so much more assertive, which is so nice to see after his first 2 years where there were many moments where he looked a bit timid, where he didn't look quite as assertive, where it didn't look like he was really trying to dominate the game. Chet Holmgren, I think he's just really come into this year with a different type of energy, a different type of motivation. It's been so refreshing to see out of a player we knew could be a superstar, even at the high school level. Nearly 25 points a game, nearly 2 steals, 10 rebounds. He's shooting really well, especially from three. He's shooting 42% to start the year. This looks like a potential all NBA leap from Chet Holmgren. It's been really refreshing to see after a player that many people were so high on. And with the fifth pick, again, I'm staying positive. I'm staying positive. I am absolutely loving what I'm seeing from Scotty Barnes this year of the Toronto Raptors. Obviously, a very high draft pick back in 2021. Giannis Antetokounmpo comparisons. This is the guy that is supposed to take the Raptors out of mediocrity. And while I still don't love the team around him, I still don't love the direction they're going in. They have plenty of talented players, but I'm just unsure about the fit. I'm unsure about the direction of the team. I'm unsure about the coaching, absolutely. But Scotty Barnes is looking great this year. He is just looking like a very well put together player. Through his first couple seasons, obviously, we saw plenty of flashes from Barnes. Super physical, great scorer, but he has looked like a very good playmaker this year. He's really taking over games the way you'd want to see your former fourth overall pick do. And again, I like I said with the previous guys, I think we could be seeing an all-star caliber leap for Scotty Barnes. He's looked really good this year.
Scotty Barnes, a great pick from the Toronto Raptors. So I close it out with the sixth and final pick. Maybe Mr. Irrelevant, but I think still a decent enough pick anyway. I am going with a Denver Nugget, Aaron Gordon.
Very relevant pick. Very
Yes,
relevant
yes,
pick.
very relevant. This man right here, opening night against the Golden State Warriors, dropped a 50 burger
Whew.
on the road in Golden State. Again, another arena that is very hard to play in for opposing players. 39 minutes, he dropped 50 points, 17 of 21 shooting. He had 10 of 11 from downtown. This man hit 10 triples in 11 attempts. That is Steph Curry really doesn't do that pretty much that often. Aaron Gordon is a forward, so the fact that he was just sniping it, he has definitely shown why he complements Nikola Jokic so well. And then against the Suns on Saturday, he had 17 points. The 3-point shooting kind of dipped a little bit, which naturally it will, 1 of 6, but he still had 5 of 11 from the field. And it's a great start to the season. I'm not saying Aaron Gordon is going to hit 10 of 11 triples from the outside every single game or every couple games, but Aaron Gordon definitely is a great compliment on the Nuggets, and David Edelman is, I would imagine, happy to have him.
Absolutely.
Finally, let's go to our game of the week. For this week's game of the week, and for the first one of Diehlman at Halftime Season 3, let's go with the LA Clippers at Golden State Warriors. This game is tomorrow, Tuesday, October 28th at 11 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. A little bit of an odd time, given that most West Coast games will start at about 10, but 11 o'clock it is. Both teams are currently 2-1 on the brand new season. Interestingly enough, both teams have played and beaten Portland so far.
I
Kind of
picked up on
weird,
that too. That's interesting.
but as we mentioned earlier in the show, rip to the Blazers season as of right now for the foreseeable future. Maybe early on as they get used to the Tiago splitter. Hopefully they can get something figured out. Chris, I think the Clippers Warriors should be a good game. You have James Harden and Kawhi Leonard and the rest of their great supporting cast. And then for the Warriors, they have their Unk lineup. So what do you think about that?
Well, Larry, not too long ago, we were tuning into Thursday Night Football, Aaron Rodgers versus Joe Flacco. We witnessed the Unk Bowl, the legendary Unk Bowl. We are not straying too far from that with our game of the week with the Clippers and Warriors. I think the average age of the starters in this matchup will be anywhere from 38 to 41. But don't get it twisted. These are two very talented teams with a lot of their top players, a lot of their older players, still really high level contributors. I think both of these teams are super talented, but it's in Golden State. Curry's kind of always had James Harden's number in these matchups. The Warriors have been a really high scoring team this year. I think after the Jonathan Kuminga shenanigans over the summer, I think he's been entering a nice niche into the starting lineup. And the Clippers obviously have looked better since their first game disaster against the Utah Jazz, who you do not want to lose to like they lost to them. But, they've looked a lot better. Obviously, these are two contending teams in the West. It's going to be a really fun game. It's going to be the NBA's rendition of the Unk Bowl. And for my final score prediction, I think I'm leaning Golden State in this one in a high scoring thriller. I'm going to go Golden State 129 to the Clippers 121.
Okay, Chris going with the Warriors, and I will play devil's advocate. I'm going with the Clippers, 120, 114. Well, that's all the time we have for today. If you haven't already, make sure to follow the podcast accounts, Chris and me, on social media. The 3 podcast accounts on Instagram, TikTok, and X or Twitter are under @Diehlman@half. My personal X and Instagram are @Larry Diehlman. Chris's personal X and Instagram are @ChrisDippy. All 7 handles are in the description on Buzzsprout, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Remember, although you can find Diehlman at Halftime on major podcasting platforms like Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, and YouTube, the main podcast website is on Buzzsprout. The website URL is diehlmanathalftime.buzzsprout.com. Feel free to send a comment by using the Send Us a Text button located in each episode's bio. With the exception of Apple Podcasts, the text option is available on Buzzsprout and all of the major platforms. Your comment could end up in the fan mail section of the Buzzsprout website. And don't forget to spread the word about Diehlman at halftime. See you next time, fellow Hoops fans.
Have a great rest of your week.